All right, Control Freak just dropped. That's today's movie, and it's Friday. I like bringing you guys something you can get into over the weekend. Control Freak, March 13th, 2025. Starring Kelly Marie Tran. This is our girl from Star Wars. This is our girl whose career got derailed because there was a lot of things happening online. A lot of people didn't like her in Star Wars. So on and so forth. That was so long ago, I memory hold it myself. But then we have the emergence of writer-director Saul. Now, forgive me if I brutalize that name. It seems to be a little bit of a thread on this podcast. We're here to talk about movies. And we got a good one here. I view this movie as important. So we got a lot to say. So let's go.
Camera speed, down production, take one.
Action!
And welcome to it, my AKAPAD. So why, let's just go. All systems go. Why am I saying Control Freak is important? The poster, the thumbnail, it's a close-up of an eyeball with a bug crawling out. We have a filmmaker who put together a wonderfully deep, complex saga. It's not just a story, it's a saga. This thing is generational. Generational horror, if you will. One of the things I love about the Congo book, the Congo movie, is that the apes and the monkeys and the chimpy boys in that movie, in that book, have ancestral memories. And it's somewhat used to tap into these, our heroes moving through a adventure. That idea and that belief has just been long with me. I'm more of a science fiction fan than anything. I love good, strong science fiction. I even like goofy science fiction that kind of has a, like a themed future. And they, like this is a future where bubblegum is a currency and we're just all in. So we have this thing, a big theme of this movie, and it's only effective from the talent of Saul. And forgive me if I'm not pronouncing his name correct. Saul gives us this emotional voyage. We deal with a woman, Valerie. She's an online. She's like a Gary V, and I love the commentary on that, but she's like an online guru. She's changed people's lives, and she's one of the ones that sells courses and sells events, and she's getting ready to do a tour. And upon this, she discovers through her father a potential demon, a demon that could be in the family, and this demon is with the family from the pain of the Vietnam War. So where's the genre? Because some of you might be like, well, like Pete, AKAPAD, the film buff over there in Philly. There's like only one movie. There's only one movie. Well, when it comes to the horrors of war becoming fantasy horror, we often see the bad guys from World War II, and not the Japanese ones, the German ones. We see crazy experiments that they're somewhat WW2 has evolved into science horror, where it's some level of an experimentation or something that those guys dug up. They dug up a grail, they dug up a magical sword, and they're wreaking havoc. So it's like this fantasy science fiction horror that really comes out of WW2. But with Vietnam, because Vietnam, and guys, my father was a Vietnam vet, we have this infliction. Again, I call it real pain. So the only other short film, it's a short film, Neil Blomkamp, in 2017, he releases a short film called Firebase that is a lot like this movie. And Firebase is the ghosts and the demons that come out of the Vietnam War. I used to be a short order cook with this one vet, and I'm not even going to say his name. He would tell me stories. He really would, and you could tell just from you wouldn't know until you got friendly with him. and you had to be like really good, really comfortable with the guy. Most people didn't even know he was former military. He would kind of go through things, and like you want to say there's levels of exaggeration, and time has passed, and they're adding things to some to some of this lore, if you will. But then it's so strikingly evil in some of these things that happen during Vietnam, that you kind of have to say, well, if this is 50% true, this is the most horrible thing I could ever hear. So I know firsthand what this war has done to people. I don't know both sides. I'm sorry. I never talked to anyone around Vietnam in the 60s that lived through it or maybe participated in the war. But Firebase touches on what we see in this movie. We see the personification of a demon, of what this war does, and it's done by a demon. Firebase, it's like some giant flesh demon. It's so freaking cool. So I'm calling this a new genre because I'm hoping people continue it. I want to see this drawn out and explored. We only get these levels of emotional depth and deepness when we have a skilled writer, when we have someone like that can actually sit down and imagine this. And it's fantastic that it's a writer-director. And you gotta give credit to Callie Marie Tran. What was her character in Star Wars? I totally forget. But like her inclusion in Star Wars really became like a tipping point when it comes to, if you dare say, the fall of Star Wars. Rose Tico, that was her name. Rose Tico. For some reason, I don't know why, people hated her in that. She roars back, and I'm so happy she did. You hope for these things to happen. I'm hoping from the strength of this performance, she can excel. She can have an acting career because she is so fantastic. Even when she's going through her head scratching moments, because that's a little bit of how Saul is showing us that it's almost like we're witnessing some of her subconscious when she scratches her head, and a lot of it's portrayed through bugs, and these bugs are there with the demon, like so on and so forth. But we get a couple fake outs, like this X-ray. They're looking at the X-ray of her head because she scratched a hole into her head, and there's a bug there, but the doctor swats the bug away. We think for a split, it's a great gotcha. We think for a split second that only she is seeing the bug, and the doctor's asking her, is there anything you need to tell me, like anything important? And we see her not tell him, and we say to ourselves, like, right when he swats the bug, tell them. You have to tell them. It's fantastic control. Saul controls the audience through this. I don't want to commentate too much on where this movie goes, because it does have an ending, and I think it doesn't have quite a perfect ending, because we have some like self-mutilation and the correction on that, so you have to buy it. Moving on. Like I will say this: one of my close relatives that I absolutely adore, I'm not going to spare you his name as well, is a world-renowned hand surgeon. And what we see at the end of this movie makes me believe that he's capable of that. But AKAPADers, for a Friday night movie, this is perfect. Now, it's perfect at any time. This is perfect psychological horror. The one thing I gotta say too, Callie Marie Tran, she plays almost two roles. She's ascending into darkness, and then we see YouTube videos of her lecture and her coursework, and sometimes they double it. Sometimes she's talking directly to herself, and it is, I kind of wish we had more of that. I wish her presentation in the self-help movement was sliced throughout this movie to kind of confuse her psychology even more. But it doesn't matter. I think Saul made great choices, and that's the other exciting thing about movies like this, is we get to talk about this guy like for the first time in his movie for the first time. This is where a lot of times when we hear about new talent cycling back to Star Wars, getting involved with Star Wars, getting involved with the MCU, or another great franchise, or Godzilla, for like again, like research some of the guys who made some of the Godzilla movies, the legendary ones, and we say, wow, where did they find this guy? How did he get this job? This is how people get jobs in Hollywood. And I'm just somewhat happy for this guy that he hit it out of the park. New talent right there, and technically saving the career of Callie Marie Tran. We have to see more from her. Rocking and rolling, guys. Go check out Control Freak. I enjoyed it so much.
Okay, that's a wrap.